All right, so we're ready to start our animal pinch sculpture. And so the first step was to brainstorm ideas and then narrow those down to a particular animal. I'm going to use a triceratops for my example, so I have some reference pictures for me to look at. And then after that, you want to sketch out some ideas. So I've sketched out a few ideas just to help me get that dimensional aspect of what that animal really looks like. And then once you have that, you're ready to begin. Think about how big the body is, how big the head is, just things in relation to each other. The triceratops that I'm going to do, the head is about 1/3 the size of the body. And so I'm going to start with clay to make the body of the triceratops. Make sure that your clay is moist enough and wedged up, and you should be ready to start. So I'm going to use this piece of clay here to make the body of it. Actually, it seems about right. Now this is going to be much bigger because we're going to make 2 pinch pots and put them together. So think about that. Sometimes it's good to practice this on smaller pieces and then, re-wedge those and make a bigger piece. But I'm going to take this and just divide it into 2 pieces. And so I'm going to make 2 separate pinch pots. And these should be roughly the same size. Okay, so now I'm going to work it into a ball. And I'm ready to make that into a pinch pot. Okay, just like in your original pinch pots, when you make these, keep in mind you don't want to make the rim real thin and leave the bottom real thick. It'll make your piece kind of lopsided. You want the thickness fairly even throughout the whole piece. I wouldn't also make the shape super thin as a whole because it'll be a little bit too delicate and you're going to be adding things onto it. So for instance, in this case, I'm going to be adding 4 legs and a head and a tail and a lot of other little details. All right, so I have my first one done. I'm going to just set that down and start working on my second one. All right. Same as before, start with the hole and then begin pinching. All right, every now and then when you think you're getting close, kind of check them, make sure they match up fairly close. They don't have to be a perfect fit, we'll seal them up, but this looks like it'll probably work pretty well. I'm going to pinch just a little bit more on each piece before I finalize. Just look for any thicker spots that I want to thin out now. All right, once you have both pieces, you want to go ahead and score and slip them. All right, so one of the things that could break on this is this seam when this piece begins to dry. So it's really important, I can't stress enough, score it well. Make sure you add your slip, and then you want to weld it together so that it's nice and sealed up. All right, so now I'm just going to put it together, try to get a good seal between the pieces. Now when you seal this up, it's really important you don't push it in, because if you dent it in, it's hard to get those dents out. You'll probably end up more than likely having to take it apart and try to start over again and possibly redo the whole thing. So I've got it on there good now. It's pretty well together. Now what I'm going to do is seal it up. So I'm going to start with my finger, and once again, don't push in, just try to seal it up. If you don't feel like your finger's working, you can take a stick or something. So here's a little popsicle stick, and I can use this to seal it up. But once again, I do not want to just push it in, because as it caves in, it's going to be very difficult to bring that area where it went in back out. And I know I'm making the surface of it look really rough, but we'll smooth that out later on. I just want to get a good seal between the 2 sides right now. So you can see if this rim was really thin, this would be difficult to do because it would want to collapse on itself. So you want the rim to be as thick as the rest of the piece. All right, so I've got a pretty good seal there now. And as I continue working on this and the other pieces, it'll continue to hopefully seal up more and more and more as time goes on. So what I'm going to do now is smooth out the piece, and once again the stick will work for this. You can see how this kind of begin smoothing it out. Also the gift card type thing or credit card would help with doing this. You don't necessarily need it perfectly smooth at this point, but you do want to seal that up and kind of smooth out so you can't really tell where you put the two together. I'm thinking about my dinosaur, my triceratops. Its body is an oval, and that's what I'm going for with this. It's not a super skinny oval, but what you could do now, I do want to show you how I can change the shape of these. If you begin tapping, so you notice the shape, if I tap on the ends, very quickly it starts changing its shape. So this is more like a sphere, which is not what I want. I want more of an oval. I just want to show you how you can change the shape very easily by gently tapping, making sure your clay is moist enough. Now you can see a little seam opening up there. So I want to seal that up good. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it, squeeze it together, and then seal it back up. Another little spot there. All right, so I'm going to just work out the shape that I think I want the body to be. Kind of a lemon shape when I look at some of the cartoon pictures, and I'm wanting a triceratops that looks a little more cartoon-like. Okay, and because you have two pieces of clay and it's totally sealed up, this is similar to a balloon in that it holds air. If I squish somewhere, air has to go somewhere else. So if I squish on the sides, the air has to go more towards the end. If I squish on the ends, the air pushes out on the side. So that's why seams will open up as you're working on it. All right, so anyway, so I think I have the body about how I want it. I'm going to add a tail onto it here. I'm going to have the head come on here and then the feet down below. I will refine the shape a little bit more as we go through, but for now, that's a good start. So I'm going to wrap this in a plastic bag so that it doesn't dry out, and we'll begin working on the other pieces.